guys, cooldomino here. This will be a tutorial video on how to do maintenance on a Thunderbolt siren. As you can see here, this is not my Thunderbolt right here. This belongs to Luke Maxwell, an Instagram user. Basically, I am going to be doing some maintenance on it, or tutorial on how to do maintenance. First, I'm going to be doing maintenance on the chopper, and then I'm going to be doing maintenance on the rotator. And there's no real blower for this Thunderbolt right here. You can see I just have a regular leaf blower down there. And maybe we'll do a little test once everything's put back together. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the tools that you're going to need is, you're going to need an adjustable wrench right here. You're also going to need like a number 13 wrench right here, a 1/4 socket wrench, and a 3/16 socket wrench. On top of that, you're also going to need a hammer, some small pliers like these, a flathead and or Phillips head screwdriver depending on your Thunderbolt, but you'll be good to grab both. So that's what you're going to need for the Thunderbolt maintenance. An optional tool would be good to have. It would be an impact driver and or drill, so you can get the bolts in and out a lot easier with the right attachments. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and inspect the chopper of the siren. This right here is the chopper. It's on the back of the siren. And basically, this thing runs on 120 volts to 240 volts AC, single phase, kind of like a Model 2 chopper, which I will do in another video. I'll do maintenance on Model 2 in another video. So, I'm sorry about the rotator box. It is not completely done yet. I'm waiting on decals for it, but you're going to have to bear with me on that. So, what you want to do now is you want to go ahead and grab a brace. Not this brace right here. I'm talking about a different brace. You want to grab this brace right here. And what you want to do is you want to take the brace, you want to slide it underneath here. You can just build one of these out of regular wood, like what I did. And then you just kind of wedge it into the siren. Like that. And it should be pretty stable. You want to come over here to the horn. This is the front of the horn right here. You want to loosen these two bolts right here. So go ahead and grab your adjustable wrench right here. And just go ahead and put it on the bolts right here. Make sure it's tightened onto the bolt. Like that. And then just go ahead and just turn it off. These may be a little tricky to get off though. But once you get it started, you should be able to take it off with the weight of your hand. This is going to take the horn off the siren. And there you go. Those are the pieces right there. So just go ahead and put those in your pocket or somewhere on the siren for later. And then you want to do the same thing on this side right here. If the bolts get a little stuck, you can always you can just take a hammer, just tap it on the side like that. Again, just take this off. And just take out the hardware with it. Like that. You have freed it on this side. Now we're going to come back over here to the chopper of the siren. If you want to go ahead and grab your 1/4 Allen wrench. These screws may be kind of tight, so if you need a hammer, you can always take a hammer and tap it onto here. Kind of like that, but I don't recommend using your fist. And then just kind of do the same thing on all these bolts right here. Once you have gotten all loosened up, you should be able to have one left, and you should keep the third one tightened. It could be any one. So you're going to take off all these screws. Just like that, you have all the screws out. Now just go ahead and once again put them in your pocket for later, or you can just set them on the siren. Now just take off the third screw. Alright, now you have freed the horn right here. You can see the horn is loose now. Now, what you want to do is put one hand here, one hand over here, and just pull it straight up. This might be pretty heavy, so you're going to have to sometimes it'll help to tip it over first, and then pull it up. This can be pretty heavy. It'll be easier if you're standing in a higher spot, but it will come off. Like that. Now let's go ahead and set the horn down. horn probably weighs like 60, 80 pounds or something. And there you go. Now the horn is taken off. Now coming over here for a closer look right here. Don't worry too much about this bracket right here. You can just leave this bracket on. And also at this point your brace is free, you can just go ahead and take this off. Now, looking at the chopper right here, you can see there are two ports right here. If this is a 1000, it'll basically be the same thing. If you see these pins right here, there should be 5 of them. Sorry they're not in right now, but there's a pin here. Let me zoom in for you. These are the pins what I'm talking about. Leave them in there for now, until later. You should also see like 4 screws right here. There's one here, there's one here. Take your 3/16 Allen wrench right here, and then just kind of loosen them. Feel free if you want to use your impact driver with Allen wrench attachment. You should be able to loosen them like that. They might be tight to begin with, but once you get them loose, you should be able to just kind of take them off. Remove all of these screws. And then just set the screws somewhere in the siren or in your pocket. Now, you're free to chopper. Now what you want to do is you want to grab under here, not here. This will pop the top off. You're going to grab under here, and then just pull it out. It's going to be pretty heavy. Just like that. Now just go ahead and set it down next to the siren. Make sure, and also make sure that you don't set it down on this side right here. This side is fragile because there are brushes there. So just go ahead and lay it down on the side, and then just flip it upside down. And that's about it for the removal of the chopper. And then you're going to be doing maintenance on the chopper neck. So what you want to do is you want to inspect the chopper of the Thunderbolt right here. So go ahead and start by removing these brush caps right here underneath. And these are the brushes for the collector rings right here. So go ahead and pull this brush out. This is a brush for the collector rings right here. Make sure your brush for all of these look like this and not like this. This is a brush that came out of my mold too, and it was really worn down. As you can see there, it's worn all the way down to the copper. This brush isn't. Well, just ignore that right there. That's just from the collector rings, but it shouldn't be this short and it shouldn't wear down to the copper. So this is a bad brush, so you get rid of that. And this is a good brush. You want to make sure the brush looks like that and not like that. So go ahead and turn this around and take out the other brush. Now make sure you set these aside. And these brushes are very fragile, so try not to drop them. So just go ahead and set them aside. Set them in a very safe spot. And then the brush caps, make sure you don't lose these. Make sure you just set those over there off the side as well. And now for the motor brushes. These are the collector ring brushes. These are the motor brushes. Now you want to be very, very careful. You want to do this very slowly, because there's a spring in there that wants to pop out. So once you reach the end of that, just be ready to put pressure on it while loosening it, because there's a spring in there, like that spring. That's the spring I'm talking about that wants to pop out. Set this brush holder aside, and then you want to pull out this brush. Make sure it's in the same orientation where you pull it out. And you just want to look at it. In this case, this brush looks pretty good. So now, since this brush looks pretty good, you want to set this back in like that, but don't put the brush cap back on. Do the same thing with the other brush. Take it out and inspect it. But remember, there's a spring in there. This brush looks like it's in good shape as well. Remember, make sure the brush, this is the bad brush and this is the good brush. And you want to make sure it's this long like this, and make sure it's not worn down to the copper like this brush is. Again, put it back in where it was, but don't put the brush cap back in. And make sure these brushes don't fall out when you're doing the next process. Now take your hammer and knock out the pins. Knock them up from this side. Pin there. There should be 5 of these. I don't have all 5 of them in, but there should be 5 of them. And now, where's the other pin? There it is. And then take this brush pin out as well. Those are the pins. Make sure you don't lose these. Set them aside. Now, everything should be free now. And you want to grip here and just kind of pull it up. Do this very slowly. And just kind of set this down. Try not to drag it. Now this is your armature right here. You want to make sure this is all nice and clean right here. In this case it is. You can see it's a dual tone rotor, but that's not important right now. But you can see here, right there, this is the commutator right here. You want to make sure this is nice and clean and doesn't have a scratch in it, and it doesn't. You want to make sure this is all nice and even, and it is in this case. And you just want to go ahead and give this a little spin and see if the bearings are good. In this case it is. The bearings are in good shape. So this bearing spins smoothly and the bearing under here spins smoothly. You can see that's why it spins so smoothly. Like just that little spin can get going for quite some time. Now, you want to go ahead and grab your screwdrivers. It might be a Phillips or a flathead, but in this case it's a Phillips. Flip this upside down. Like that. And then just take these 4 screws out. The original ones might be flathead, but in this case they're forehead. It might also help as well if you get your knees under here, like that. Kind of hold everything in place while you get the screws out. And there you go. Now you want to hold on to the rotor underneath and flip it back over. Just like that. Move this out of the way. Now you want to put your fingers here, one finger here, and the other finger over here, like that. And then you just kind of pull it out. This might be very tight, but it does come out. Sometimes it's easier to do it this way. Like that, and it just came out. This is the rotor right here, the dual tone rotor. You also want to look closely to see if the copper coils are clean and don't have any scratches on them. In this case, they are. So let's just set that aside for now. And that's going to roll towards me. Now, you just look in here. Make sure it's all nice and clean. And it is. I'll just set this aside. Now pick this up again. Hold it on both bearings. Like put one hand here and one hand on a bearing. And just pick it up. And just kind of give it a little spin. And just let go. And see if it starts spinning on its own. If it's not spinning on its own, that means it's good and balanced. But if it is spinning on its own, that means it's not balanced. So this is nice and balanced. So go ahead and set that back over there. Now go ahead and grab your other part of the motor right here. And just kind of flip it over without these brushes falling out. These are the fields right here. You want to make sure these fields are nice and clean. And to make sure there are no scratches on the fields either. In this case they are, which is good. So you can go ahead and set this aside again. Making sure the brushes don't fall out. Bring the chopper cap back over. Put your rotor back in. Like that. And it should be in and good to go. Now you want to get that bracket. There's a bracket under here. I'll zoom in for you so you can see. As you can see under here, there's a bracket right there. You can see I can move the bracket back and forth. You want to get that lined up with the hole right there. Once you think you got that lined up, go ahead and put the screws back in. Just try to get that lined up with one screw, and then once you get that one screw lined up, they should all go in pretty easily. Now once you get this threaded in, you want to go ahead and put your next screw in. And actually, I'll loosen this one a little bit. So you can get this one in. Like that. Once you get those two in, just go ahead and finger tight the rest of these. Alright, now once that's back in, pick this back up, Make sure you give it a spin and make sure it is okay, and it is in this case. Now go ahead and grab your fields and just put this back over, but be very slow and careful not to scratch those coils. Like that. Now you want to get all these holes lined up. Make sure all the holes are lined up. And now just go ahead and take your pin, one of the pins, and just put it into any of the holes. Make sure you have it in the right way. That hole doesn't work, so I'm going to try a different hole. In this case, this one works. The pins are for to keep it centered. Once you got that in, just go ahead and give this a little spin and just listen and make sure there's no scraping noises. In this case, it's good. Now grab a brush cap and then just go ahead and put one brush back in. You put your finger here and just hold the brush back in. Hold the brush cap like that, and then just kind of twist with your other hand. Once you get that in, you can release your other finger, tighten it in all the rest of the way. Do the same thing on the other one. Once you got both brushes back in, go ahead and grab your collector ring brushes and then just slide those back in. Make sure you know which ones are the collector ring brushes and which ones are the motor brushes. Don't worry about the spring coming out. Just make sure these caps do not fall inside the chopper. You're going to have to take this all apart and get that piece back out. And now, the chopper motor is put back together. Go ahead and give it another spin. Make sure everything's good. It should not spin as well than it was without the brushes because the brushes are pushing on the commutator. But this should be good. And it is in this case. To connect it to electrical power, to test it, what you want to do, you want to grab some pliers, small ones, and just kind of loosen this little nut right here a little bit. Not all the way, but just a little bit. Now just go ahead and grab one end of your power cord right here and connect it to here. Loosen it a little bit more. Put that in and then just kind of tighten it. Might be a little tricky. It'll be easier if you have lugs. But I don't have lugs on at the moment, so we're going to have to deal with it this way. Once that's in, just give it a little tug, make sure it's good. And just come over to the other side and do the same thing. It doesn't matter which wire connects to where, because it's AC. And if your power cord has a ground, don't worry about connecting it. But if you want to connect it somewhere, just connect it to somewhere on the base. On a metal base. Don't worry about that for now. Just kind of bend it out of the way. Make sure it's not in the intake right here. This is called the intake. Make sure it's not in there. And then I'll be right back after I get power from my camera. Now you have connected this to power. Now once this is plugged in, do not touch it because it's live. And you want to avoid touching it if at all possible. Like these brushes are live, this commutator down here is live, everything will be live on this thing when I plug it in. So, now go ahead and grab your male and female extension cords right here, and just go ahead and plug them in. If you want to run out the full power, grab your hearing protection because it's going to be pretty loud when I run out of full power, which I'm going to do right now. Now after that test and you've confirmed everything's working, good job. Now if you notice down here, the brushes do arc down here a little bit. I will try to zoom in on that for you so you can see what I mean. Like this is the commutator right here. And let me just go ahead and try to plug it in real quick for you so you can see what I mean with the arcing. So watch the brushes. Watch where the brushes touch the commutator. You saw there's a little bit of arcing going on the left side of the brush. Don't worry too much about it, but if you're too worried about it, if you're too worried about the arcing, just go ahead and swap the brushes around and try to change their orientation. If not, don't worry too much about it, because it should be okay. You want to go ahead and take these wires back off right here. Make sure it's unplugged. Take these wires off and just toss those out of the way for now. Now just go ahead and tighten those wires back up. Or the nuts, I meant. And just go ahead and tighten those back up a little bit. Don't tighten them too much. Should be fine the way it is. And now, this is all good to go, and I'll test it and it's confirmed it's working. The next thing you want to do, you want to inspect the collector rings back up on the siren. But go back to your siren, or the actual rotator part, and inspect these collector rings right here. See how clean these are? You should be able to see bare copper like this right here. Make sure there's no dirt or dust underneath the collector rings, and there isn't. Well, maybe there's a little bit of dust, but that shouldn't really affect it that much. But these collector rings should be pretty clean. If they're not super clean, take some steel wool and just kind of sand them off a little bit. But in this case, they're pretty clean. Now, you have the chopper ready to go. The chopper is all good and ready and tested, and it seems to be working fine. Now, go ahead and pick up your chopper. It's pretty heavy. And just kind of set it like this. Watch your fingers, because that reason. And then just kind of hold it, flip it over, and then just kind of drop it into the chopper. Make sure the ports are facing towards the bracket. And just kind of lower it in slowly. And once you feel like you're having no longer flow, just let it drop, and you should be good. Now you want to put those screws that I've been telling you about back in. Just go ahead and put the screw back into the siren. Start with one screw. If it's not lining up, just go ahead and twist it a little bit and make sure it lines up. Tighten this one in first. And then when that's good, go ahead and come over here. And there you go. You have all the screws back in. Now just go ahead and test lift it. Make sure it won't pop back out, and it doesn't. And you're good to go. And those brushes that I was telling you about are now contacting onto the collector rings right now. And that's what you want to have happen. Now you want to put the horn back on the Thunderbolt right here. You want to make sure that the two holes on the Thunderbolt are lined up with these two bolts right here. If it doesn't, it may scratch the paint while you try to get it on. You just kind of slide it around. You might want to have another person guide you, like sitting on this side of the horn, just guiding you. Now go ahead and grab your brace, like that. That's just to ensure that this thing is stable. Even if it's on a shipping pallet like this Thunderbolt is, you want to make sure it's nice and stable. The higher the Thunderbolt is, the harder it is to get the horn on. So you gotta have the Thunderbolt as low as you can, or you can stand up on like wood or something. Just kind of hold it above here. I know I'm scratching the paint, but don't worry, I'll repaint that. Just kind of try to get that. Watch this end over here as well. Just kind of get it lined up on both sides. There you go. Now the horn's in place. You want to go ahead and grab one of these screws right here, the larger ones, the 1/4 ones, and your 1/4 Allen wrench right here. You want to go ahead and shift the horn and just kind of get it lined up with here. Kind of like that to start with. And then just kind of tighten it in place. Now you have the horn in place, it should be good to go. Now you want to go over to the front of the horn again Go ahead and set that down. Now you want to go ahead and put the hardware that came off of the front of the horn back on. So go ahead and start with a regular washer, a lock washer, followed by a nut. Maybe pretty tight at some point, but just work what you got. Once you got those fingers tightened in, use a wrench and tighten them up. And there you go. The horn is back in, which is what you want. Now that looks pretty good. So now what you want to do is you want to go ahead and inspect the rotator box, before you actually start testing it. So go ahead and take a screwdriver, and then just go ahead and loosen all the screws that hold the rotator panel in place. Now once all the screws are off, just pull the panel off. If you get the wrong side, that's okay. Just go ahead and take off both sides if you're comfortable with that. And just set the panel aside. And now this is what it looks like right here. You can see here, this is your rotator RPM setting right here. I will do a different video on how to set the rotator RPM. If I have it out already, it'll be located up here, or wherever it is, like up in here basically. So, this is the rotator belt. You want to inspect the rotator belt and make sure it's okay. And this little section right here, I do not recommend having that there, but if you can't get it off, that's okay. You see here, if I spin this right here, the horn spins. This black wire right here goes to your collector rings, and that collector rings go over to the siren. So if you just apply power to that, your chopper would run like normal. The blue wires, or whatever other color wire that goes directly to this motor right here, is the motor wire. So I already have that wired up though. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit the power switch, and then you go ahead and wire it up. Make sure everything's good, and make sure this spins freely, and everything. You'll see the Thunderbolt siren kind of rotate around. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the switch and let it rotate. If the rotator motor doesn't work, I would inspect the motor, kind of like I did on the SD10. Now here goes the rotator. If I power the chopper should run as well. So that is the rotator right there, so everything seems to be working just fine. I will go ahead and inspect the motor now of this part of the video now. As you see these screws right here, go ahead and take out these screws right here. They shouldn't be in there very tight though, but if they are pretty tight, just go ahead and use a screwdriver. Screw comes out. There we go. You might want to take all this hardware off the top of the siren at this point. And then just go ahead and pull this off. Like that. Now just go ahead and set that aside for now. And then now you want to go ahead and grab a wrench. Now you want to loosen all of these screws right here. You don't want to take them all the way out, by the way. Now once that's freed up, you can just go ahead and push the motor this towards here. And then you can just go ahead and take the belt off. And just set this aside for now. Now the motor, you want to test spin the motor and see if it spins pretty freely. And now you want to also test spin this piece right here. This should spin pretty freely as well. And it does. So I'm going to run up the motor again. This time it's going to be a 120, and then I'm going to run it on 240. By the way, this is I believe it's a 1/3 horsepower 1700 RPM motor right here. Single phase. You also want to check everything on here. I will do a separate video on how to check induction motors like this. Single phase induction motors. Because I don't feel like pulling that motor out. So, I'm going to do 120 first, and then I'm going to do 240. So this is 120. Runs normally. Now let that wind down. and here's 240. You can see there's a lot more torque to it. So that tells me the motor's working. If the motor starts spinning once but doesn't start spinning again, that means there's something wrong with the capacitor. You also want to make sure this motor is also grounded as well when working on it. And then I'm going to show you right now how to change the rotator RPMs so I don't have to do it later. Taking a look at this. From here to here is 2 RPM, and from here to here is 4 RPM, and from here to here is 8 RPM. Take the time to figure out what your RPM is, and then take your belt and make sure you put it on the same layer. Like say you want to do 2 RPM. You can put it here, but you cannot put it back here. It has to be on the same level as it is on the motor. Like that. Now you want to pull this motor tight. And then just go ahead and grab your number 13 wrench. Where is there it is. There you go. Now go ahead and go back to your controls, or your breaker, or switch, or whatever, and just go ahead and run it one more time. Now just go ahead and put the rotator panel back together. Just basically follow the steps in backwards and you should be good. So how the Thunderbolt wires up again, this black wire right here is your chopper, and these 2 blue wires right here are your rotator right here. So you can see these wires go directly to the motor. This wire wraps around behind and goes into the blower pipe. So this one tells me this is a chopper, and these are the rotators. Now I don't have a blower, so I can't really do a blower inspection for you, but I could try to help you best I can with the blower if you do own one and you need maintenance. So yeah, that's about it for this here. I'm going to close up the panels and we'll be right back. Also, another thing to make sure with the rotator right here is to make sure it's all cleaned in here. And when this Thunderbolt first arrived, this particular one had like 10 pounds of dirt down in here in the rotator box. So yeah, make sure you keep that in mind to keep it all clean and everything. Make sure this spins the way it should. And yeah, this is the black wire I've been talking about that goes up to the chopper. So that goes to there. So yeah, I'm going to close up this side now and I'll be good to go. And that's about it for the Thunderbolt tutorial on maintenance on it of a 1000 or 1000T, possibly 1003, but basically it's all pretty much the same thing. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will make a separate video up here in the time card. I will be maintenance on inspecting an induction motor. I have a different induction motor over there that I will do a video on. Other than that, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.